Hey guys, what is going on? This is Wrestlelamia, back with another episode. The 2020 WWE Draft has begun on Smackdown, but who's staying, who's going, and will anyone care? Join us now as Wrestlelamia analyzes Night 1 of the 2020 WWE Draft. The rules. Fox Sports broke down the rules for the draft, reporting that more than 60 male superstars, female superstars, and tag teams have been placed into the 2020 draft. Here are the rules. 1. Raw receives 3 picks as it's a 3-hour show, whereas SmackDown receives 2 because it's a 2-hour show. 2. Tag teams and factions are counted as 1 pick unless Fox and the USA Network, with WWE permission, only want 1. 3. Undrafted superstars become free agents and can go to the brand of their choice. 4. There is a specific pool of talent for each night, which means these superstars can only be drafted on one night. That is, the pool being chosen on SmackDown will not be available on Raw. As always, remember, it's the WWE, so rules are subject to change without notice and/or any rhyme or reason. The Smackdown Pool. The following superstars, teams, and factions are all eligible to be drafted during the 9th October edition of SmackDown. Asuka, Sasha Banks, Bianca Bel-Air, Dana Brooke, Humberto Carrillo, Angel Garza, Drew Gulak, Heavy Machinery of Otis and Tucker, The Hurt Business of Bobby Lashley, Shelton Benjamin, Cedric Alexander, and MVP, Mickie James, Lucha House Party of Kalisto, Grand Metalik, and Lince Dorado, Drew McIntyre, The Miz and John Morrison, Murphy, Rey and Dominic Mysterio, Naomi, The New Day of Big E, Kofi Kingston, and Xavier Woods, Roman Reigns, Ricochet, Seth Rollins, Mandy Rose, Shayna Basler and Nia Jax, Shorty G, AJ Styles, and Jey Uso. For those wondering, the return of Lars Sullivan at the 9th October SmackDown means the Freak will be put into the draft pool on the 12th October edition of Raw. Round 1. First picks, Raw selects WWE Champion Drew McIntyre. This one is a no-brainer as the WWE has been building up McIntyre as Raw's top babyface, and there's nothing for him to do on SmackDown, as Roman Reigns seems like a lock to hold the Universal Championship until WrestleMania 37, either facing The Rock or The Fiend at the event. Even if McIntyre drops the WWE title to Randy Orton, there's plenty of money to be made on Raw with Drew chasing the belt, or McIntyre fighting Keith Lee to see who gets a shot at the Legend Killer. SmackDown selects Universal Champion Roman Reigns. We've already explained why Reigns needs to stay on the blue brand, but it also reinforces the idea that this is a legitimate draft where each brand is eager to keep its champions locked down. Second picks. Raw selects Raw Women's Champion Asuka. Raw has an enormous amount of quality opponents for the Empress of Tomorrow, if the WWE builds them up as more than the enhancement talent of the week. A move to SmackDown would have been a dead end for Asuka, as the blue brand seems to be all about Banks and Bayley. Staying on Raw is a good move initially, but the WWE needs to rejuvenate Raw's women's division. SmackDown selects Seth Rollins. Bayley wasn't available as she's in the pool for Monday night, otherwise it's likely she would have been picked to keep her on SmackDown. This is a huge pick for SmackDown as Rollins hasn't been on SmackDown for years, and he is a fresh face and one of the best heels going. It should prove interesting to see how he interacts with his former Shield partner Roman Reigns now that both men are heels. Is the blue brand big enough for 2 men with such massive egos and lofty ambitions? This question could make for some interesting TV down the road, although there's no need to rush a Reigns vs. Rollins program. Third pick. Raw selects The Hurt Business, consisting of the United States Champion Bobby Lashley, Shelton Benjamin, Cedric Alexander, and MVP. The Hurt Business are one of the hottest acts on Raw, and it's doubtful that SmackDown would find the time to utilize them properly given the show's 2-hour format. For whatever reason, Raw's normally stifled creative team does a good job booking this fearsome foursome, and it was a good move keeping them on Raw. Round 2. First picks. Raw selects AJ Styles. The phenomenal AJ Styles move back to Raw was all but inevitable, considering the rumored real-life heat between Styles and Paul Heyman, who recently returned to SmackDown after Styles asked to be moved from Heyman's old stomping grounds on Raw. With Seth Rollins over on Smackdown, Raw can benefit from another top heel, and Styles should have no problem acclimating himself to the red brand. Smackdown selects Sasha Banks. Another no-brainer, the Boss remaining on Smackdown is necessary to continue the Banks vs. Bayley feud. Barring an injury or other unforeseen circumstance turning the feud sideways, these two are likely going to be fighting it out until WrestleMania. Second picks. Raw selects Naomi. Naomi has been doing next to nothing on SmackDown, and the hashtag Naomi deserves better sums up the WWE Universe's feelings on how she's been booked since her return at the 2020 Royal Rumble. A brand switch is no guarantee of a wrestler getting a push, but Naomi could quickly be inserted into a program with Raw Women's Champion Asuka for some magnificent matchups. SmackDown selects Bianca Bel-Air. Although Bianca has been on Raw for several months, she's done next to nothing on the red brand despite a strong showing at the 2020 Women's Royal Rumble match and a well-earned reputation as a potential main eventer. With Bayley vs. Banks overshadowing SmackDown's women's division, the best Bel-Air may be able to hope for is either a singles feud or finding a tag team partner to compete for the Women's Tag Team Championship. Third pick. Raw selects Women's Tag Team Champions Nia Jax and Shayna Basler. This pick may make no sense, but the reason, at least it's the only reason that makes sense, for Raw choosing a team that can appear on any brand thanks to their status as tag champions is in case they drop the titles. Apparently, the powers that be on Raw feel both Jax and Basler are too good to lose to SmackDown, and while Wrestlelamia isn't sure about Jax, Basler is a keeper. Round 3, first picks, Raw selects Ricochet. Unless the WWE has big plans for Ricochet, this is a meaningless pick, as Ricochet has gone from holding the US Championship to counting the lights on a regular basis. Yes, the Hurt Business need enhancement talent, but was Ricochet that valuable? SmackDown selects Jey Uso. Last year, fans would have been scratching their heads if Jey Uso had been chosen first, even though it's the third round. However, the WWE has done a terrific job building Jey up as a singles player, and it's clear the WWE has some big plans for him in relation to Roman Reigns, particularly if the rumors of a Reigns-run faction prove to be true. Second picks. Raw selects Mandy Rose. Raw's officials must have been getting into the complimentary liquor at the draft because there's no other way to explain why they'd choose to keep Rose, a non-entity on Raw. The Golden Goddess has gone from hero to zero ever since she was traded to Raw, and if she was traded, why on earth would Raw need to lock her in? SmackDown selects Dominic and Rey Mysterio. This was an outstanding pick because Seth Rollins can continue his feud with the Mysterio family, a feud which surprisingly still has legs, and because there's not much else for the Mysterios to do on the red brand. Third pick, Raw selects The Miz and John Morrison. A fantastic pick by Raw, and Wrestlelamia won't even bother to ask why these guys are near the bottom of the draft. In any event, Raw needs some quality tag teams, and they've got an instant contender for the tag titles with The Miz and Morrison hitting the scene. Round 4, first pick, Raw selects SmackDown Tag Team Champions The New Day, Xavier Woods, and Kofi Kingston. An interesting pick to say the least, as The New Day are now competing on separate brands for the first time in their 6+ year career. This pick makes it likely we'll see the Street Profits traded to SmackDown, but what if they don't? Will the WWE keep both of its tag team champions on one roster? And if so, is a title unification in the works? As noted earlier, the Red Brand's tag team roster was lacking, but it picked up tremendously after tonight's trades. SmackDown selects Big E. Although the New Day have repeatedly said they can compete as separate individuals, Big E remaining on SmackDown while Kofi and Xavier are on Raw raises the question whether this will actually happen. This is Big E's chance to carve out a singles career, and of all 3 New Day members, his name has repeatedly come up as the man most likely to find lasting main event stardom. Second picks, Raw chooses Dana Brooke. Apparently, Raw has some big plans for Dana Brooke, and let's hope they follow through. Otherwise, it's hard to believe anyone would pick her over some better qualified candidates. SmackDown selects Otis. Fans hoping that Otis might move to Raw and thus have a better chance of keeping his Money in the Bank briefcase might have another reason to worry that the WWE will somehow take it off the big man. It's also a disturbing move, as the Mandy Rose and Otis storyline romance appears to be over, with each star on separate brands. Has Otis's rising star come crashing down, or is this just a momentary lull for wrestling's most lovable goof? Third pick, Raw selects Angel Garza. This is a good pick if WWE keeps Andrade on Raw in order to have the two feud with each other. If not, it's a bad sign for Garza, as it's unclear whether there are any major, or even minor for that matter, storylines to work in. Well guys, there you have it, Wrestlemania's analysis and recap of Night 1 of the 2020 WWE Draft. What did you think of these picks? Be sure to leave your comments, and don't forget to subscribe to our channel, follow us on Instagram and Twitter, and I'll see you next time for some more wrestling content.